Hello, welcome back to my channel. Wanted to do one of the million videos that are out right now, which the CDC has recommended that everybody start wearing masks when you go out. And I do have a video, 2 videos ago, talking about clearing the issue about masks. And I think now more people are understanding that this is not like a medical grade mask, but it is something as a barrier just to protect yourself against, other people's spit droplets or whatever when they sneeze, cough, talk to you or whatever. Wear a mask if you choose to go out. It will help. It won't save you from coronavirus, but it's better than nothing. I have a whole spiel about this already. Let's just begin. This is a type of mask that I am making because I did quite a few of these with some other ladies in a collective for some area hospitals and health agencies. And what they had advised, they had actually sent us a letter with specifications how they wanted it. And I'm just going to go off this tutorial I'm making for you will just kind of go off those specs. They wanted the masks to be like this, which there's a lot of tutorials with masks like this, but the material that they wanted wanted one of the two, either denim, 100% cotton denim, none of the fabric should have stretch, tightly woven, so 100% cotton denim, or duck cloth, or duck canvas. So what I'm using is the duck canvas on this. But these are specifications that the hospital gave me, so I'm gonna make, again, like I said, a tutorial based on this. So what you're gonna do is cut 2 layers of, and before I begin, I'm sorry, please, before you cut anything, this duck canvas shrinks a lot. It shrinks a lot. In the hottest water that you, and I'm not saying that, I mean, when you deliver them, like if you're doing it for yourself or for hospitals, like they will sanitize it once they get it, but you still need to shrink it, because if they sanitize it and you had a mask that fits you and then it becomes like smaller than that, you know what I mean? That's not a good product. Be sure hot water, high, dry, just shrink the heck out of it. And then you're gonna cut 2 pieces out that are 9 by 6. And one of the things, if you are gonna be making multiples, another tip I just want to add to this whole world of knowledge right now on these mask making. I had brought this up previously in a video for my Discover sewing tools at Harbor Freight Tools. And I mean, you can also make a pattern and then kind of place it, but I find this carpenter square is just as fast, and I didn't have to pre-make a pattern. So I just, mark out 9, goes up to 6, flip it, and then I just keep going like that, using my carpenter square on the duck canvas, and then I'm able to trace out a bunch, relatively quickly. So you're gonna have 2 9 by 6 layers of the duck canvas. Then you're going to have, I cut out a long 14-inch long elastic, but of course if you have it, half it, and then you cut it, it's 7 inches each per side of your face. Now, here's something that I want to mention. This is something that I have learned in working with other people who are using this. I have like an industrial machine-ish, this Spartan here, and then I have another machine which is older, but I just broke that the other day, so I have to go get it serviced. So right now I'm working on a very basic Singer sewing machine. When you're doing the duck canvas, it is relatively easy to sew around it. That when you get to the part where you have to pleat, this duck canvas is super thick. And then when you get to this part, see how thick that is? A lot of people's machines won't do it. So I have some tips, because I have a very basic, Singer sewing machine here in front of me. And get a heavy duty needle. I didn't have any normal heavy duty needles per se, but I did have leather needles. So I switched a leather needle to my machine, and it really helped a lot in terms of going over these super thick parts of the pleating. So let me show you how I kind of did that, but I just wanted to share that tip. So if you don't have a thick heavy duty needle, which you will need for this project, if you use anything else, it's going to snap on you. And these masks should take you between maybe 6 to 7 minutes to finish. per mask. And if you don't have the right tools using it right now, it's going to take longer and you're going to be breaking needles, all this stuff. So let's get started and I'll show you how to do this. So I'm going to take my elastic and just like have it even. And then I'm just going to snap it to make my two. I have it on my stitch width or length, I guess. I always get confused which is which. I know, this is the worst channel ever. So I'm going to put my, as you can see, I put my elastic in the corner and then just kind of like line up everything else here. I'm going to keep this at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. As you'll see here in the beginning, I'm going to go back and forth for a little bit. Okay. Keep that 1/4. Then right before I get to the other side, I personally, I wouldn't try and pin this. I'm using a very thin elastic because literally, you guys, elastic is so scarce right now because everybody and their mothers are making masks. I mean, I think elastic is more scarce than toilet paper at this point. So I was only able to get, I want to say maybe this is 3/8 of an inch wide elastic. So that's why I'm not pinning mine because it's so thin. Like the needle's going to damage the elastic. And I'm trying to avoid very little damage because if you poke too many holes in the elastic, it's not going to stay together in the long run when it's being pulled and there's tension on it because you're wearing your mask. So every time I get to the end, I'll just go back a little bit. When you turn the corner, here's a tip. When you turn the corner, have your needle down like if you're pinning it into place, and then just lift your foot. And then what I always tell my students is just like you're driving. You turn the wheel, reposition yourself back on your 1/4 inch line for your guideline. Go almost all the way down. And then again, when you get to the end, find your little elastic buddy, the other end, and fit it to the corner as so. And continue. See, I make sure that my needle's down. Except I'm a little off here, so I'm going to lift it and I'm just going to scoot it back. Now here, I'm going to stop and go back a little bit, and I'm going to pull it off because I need to have a hole in my piece so that way I can put my fingers in it and turn it inside out. So right there's about good. And again, I'm going to lift this up and I'm going to try and find the other part of my elastic. And you see how I have like it kind of a reinforced 90-degree angle there. I'm going to go ahead and clip the corners just from one point to the other point, as you can see here. Just like that. I'm going to do that all the way around. As you can see, there's a method to why I did it like this in the corners, to try and keep me like a grid, like it's keeping me in check. there. Just like that. And then I'm just gonna clip any little strings that are kind of in my way. Then I'm just going to turn it inside out. Make sure that I poke out my corners as best as I can. And as I'm doing this, I had, where is it? I'll use a screwdriver. If you have chopsticks or something with a blunt end, you can use it to poke out your corners. I was watching another tutorial video on masks, and someone brought up the point that, you know, they heard from their grandmother that their grandmother or grandmother's mother used to knit patches for the war during World War II, talking about when women went to the workforce and did a bunch of things to contribute for wartime efforts. And they thought that what's going on right now is kind of similar. And I thought that was funny because I was like, yeah, you know, the other day I was actually thinking about that. Like, this is some Rosie the Riveter type stuff. Like right now, anybody with a sewing machine, there's a call to action, you know what I mean? Like, make masks for your family, make masks. I mean, just make masks. Everybody needs one right now. So that way our healthcare professionals, and when the hospitals or whenever they need to buy masks for them, they'll have it instead of us, you know, peasants, peons, taking all their medical supplies when they're the ones that need it the most. So I just pinned this shut where the hole was. And then just kind of like, you can press it now if you want to. I'm not, I wait till the end. Like, I still have to press this one. I wait till the end and I just like press and steam the heck out of it to really flatten it. I mean, you can, it is nice to do it that way, but I have to make 34 of these for a family member of mine who ordered some. So I'm just trying to like do this, like, you know, assembly line on the quick, you know what I mean? Okay. So now what we're gonna do is stitch. We'll start in one corner and we'll close off the hole and then stop here, and then we'll start doing the pleating as we go. I'm doing it in this manner. It might be hard for someone maybe who is not experienced with that, only because since the fabric gets so hard, as I was stating earlier with the pleating, it will warp the pins and it just becomes really hard to manage. That's it in my opinion. So let me go ahead and show you how I'm pleating it as I go when we do that one movement. Let me show you. So like I said, I'll start here in the corner. And I can kind of tell and feel when my machine is, the feed dogs are not grabbing it. So you will see me sometimes, I am giving a little bit of help because I'm sure this machine should not be doing what I'm trying to make it do, you know? So this is where I'm just kind of like forcing the machine to do the work, but you'll see. I'm just gonna go across. Okay, so I'm about 3/8, half a centimeter away from the edge. So here, same thing. I'm going to leave the needle down. I'm going to lift my foot and I'm going to turn it. So now what I'm going to do is pleat this, and I'm eyeballing it as I go. If you want to make the markings before you even start this to make them even, that would be great too. But again, I'm just going to eyeball it. I'm used to it, and I have to pump out a bunch of these. So please forgive me if I'm doing this like in such a rushed manner, I guess. So I'm just going to kind of pinch. And what I've noticed too from these masks is it's better if it's smaller pleats at the top, like where your nose area is, and then the pleat gets bigger when it gets to your chin. I find that to be a little bit of a better fit in my opinion. So that's what I'm going to do. And then also when you're wearing the mask, you want the pleats to be facing downwards. They say that helps with like how to say it? Whisking or wicking off fluids or germs or something. I read that in a comment and someone who claimed to be a phlebotomist, and that actually made a lot of sense to me. So I just want to kind of share that info here. So I'm just going to make, see, as you can see, look how thick that is. So that's why I'm using a leather needle, or if you have a very heavy duty non-leather needle, that's probably going to be the only type of needles that you could use when you're using this kind of fabric. And you're going to hear the machine going real slow. I'm really forcing it. So if you know your machine, you know how much pressure to give it so it can keep going. Okay, I'm going to stop right there. That's the first pleat. Then I'm going to make the second pleat. Tight right under there. My foot's still down, okay. Hold it down. I keep my needle down every time because I don't want any pleats or anything to like pop back out at me. I'm on the last pleat. So now I can make this one just a little bit bigger. So right here, I'm on my last one. I'm also putting pressure on the screwdriver just a little bit, but that's mainly so my hands aren't completely in the way, so you can see what I'm sewing. And then I'm gonna stop right there. Keep the needle down because I'm gonna just keep going around and around on this. Then I'm gonna stitch down this whole area here. About right there. I'm gonna clip the string that I have in the corner over here because it starts to annoy me. I get tangled up in threads as I go around this. Remember, needle down. I'm gonna turn the wheel, and then I'm looking at the other side, and I'm gonna try and evenly eyeball how much I did that pleat. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to hold this right at the edge because I do not want the needle to strike the screwdriver. The last one, I put the needle back down and then do this last one. Except now, I'm going to do 2 lines. I don't know if you could see here, but I have 2 stitch lines here. So I'm just going to, now that I have like there's a little space, I'm just going to close off that space some more with, except this time what I'm doing, and you don't have to do this, I'm doing it, I guess, maybe to be extra, or I don't know. This just feels right. I'm going to make the last stitches to go around it really, really big. And I'm just putting a double stitch line on the ends just because this fabric is so thick. With people wearing it and there's tension on it, I don't want one of the initial threads to pop and then all the pleating comes apart. So it's kind of like a reinforcement backup stitch in case that does happen at any point during the ownership and wearing of this mask. So I'm not trying to go over the previous stitch. I'm not trying to like stitch in the ditch or anything. I'm just going like right next to it, but with a much wider stitch length. I'm going to turn, so you can see here. Put the foot down. As you can hear right there, I'm going real slow because I don't want a leather needle to snap and shoot at my face. That would really suck. Okay, I'm gonna go around because I still gotta do the other side. Thing, put down. And if at any rate you get, if this happens to you, which has happened to me, you get to a pleat that is just too thick, the machine's motor will not go through it, you can always help your machine by trying to, making sure at least the needle is still going through the hole down there, because sometimes it gets crooked and starts hitting like the metal plate. And at that point, of course, you can't force it right. But if it still is aligned with the hole and the motor won't let it go all the way through, you can always assist the motor by trying to help it go all the way down, and it'll go through. So you can kind of assist it manually while still using your pedal. But in this case, I didn't need to do that. I did the mask. I hope this helps. Like I said, I do a double stitching here just to reinforce it in case, because again, this is very, very thick fabric. I'm just using what I feel is like I just need a reinforcing stitch to keep the pleats together. But this is the completed mask without being pressed. Obviously it looks much neater once it is pressed. If you have any questions, please leave them down below, and thank you so much. Stay safe, guys. Bye.